Welcome to the Food Scene, an instructional web series on how to make some delicious dishes. This is episode 6. We're doing mac and cheese, done right. Let's start by running down the ingredients. You're going to need panko breadcrumbs, butter, dijon mustard, cheddar cheese, heavy cream, flour, dry macaroni pasta, black pepper, salt, milk, and red chili flakes. And yeah, that's all the ingredients, guys. This is, in my opinion, the best mac and cheese I've ever had, and I don't say that lightly. Moving on. Some other quick notes here. Obviously, always wash your hands. Make sure your counters are clean. Make sure before you start using any vegetables that you are washing them. I am not showing these things in the video because I feel that would be sort of monotonous. But yes, always do that. Also, for any of you who want suggested amounts for the ingredients, I will leave those amounts in the video description below. Back to the food scene. Okay, so first step is to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Then we're going to grate some cheese, and you're going to be grating a lot of cheese here because you're grating cheese for both the macaroni sauce and for the topping. Since we're going to be baking this, I think that this, when I say this is the best macaroni I've ever had, I'm not exaggerating. Like, if there's one dish that I recommend you at least attempt once from this episode series, I highly recommend this one. I've never gotten any complaints. I think it's just absolutely outstanding. It's very rich though, so maybe eat it with a salad, but definitely super delicious. And yeah, let's move on. Okay, so the next step is to get some water boiling for your pasta. Always salt your water, by the way. Always want to do that with pasta. Then we're going to start making the sauce for the mac and cheese once we've gotten everything prepped, which is really just grating all the cheese. So throw some butter in your pan, let that melt, and you're going to want your pan at moderate heat, maybe moderately low, somewhere in that range. And then you're going to throw in some flour and the red pepper flakes, and we're going to make a roux. And some of you might be wondering, what the heck is a roux? And a roux is a sort of thickening agent used in a lot of sauces. Don't quote me on this, but I believe you might develop a roux for a bechamel. And so you're going to want to whisk all this butter and flour and red pepper flakes for about 3 minutes or so. And you want to, what you're looking for is that the flour is really incorporating with the butter and there's not like flour on the outside, that it's all mixed in. And yeah, this is the roux for our sauce for the mac and cheese. I'm just whisking it right now. And after this, you're going to add your milk in a slow stream, whisking it in to the roux, making sure everything is combining. Notice I didn't use incorporating there because I hear myself saying it a lot. And I might be going slightly mad. Not sure. No, you're not going mad if you just say the word incorporate a lot. I don't think so. So anyway, that was a weird tangent, but here we are, slowly adding the milk. And now we're going to bring this up to a boil, and we're going to whisk the entire time while it is brought up to a boil. And in all likelihood, your wrist is going to really start to hurt because this is a lot of whisking, but you just got to power through. I promise it's worth it because of the amazing mac and cheese you get at the end. So yeah, as you can see the stove there, I'm turning up the heat. Trying to get this up to a boil. And you can check periodically to make sure it's at that point, because once you get it up to a boil, you're going to bring it back down to a simmer and just whisk every now and then. So here I am still whisking, and you're gonna be doing this for a while, guys. It usually takes like, well, I mean, the stoves I'm working with aren't great, but it usually takes like 10 minutes or so. So here it is simmering. That's kind of what you're looking for, that thickness, that consistency. Because it's really going to thicken as you whisk in the roux and heat it. So this is why it's so crucial. So you're going to let that simmer for around 3 minutes and whisk occasionally. And now we're adding in the heavy cream. And yeah, here I am just making sure that all the heavy cream is being used. Yeah, there we go. The cheese, which will also thicken the sauce a little bit, that grated cheddar cheese from earlier. And when you grate the cheddar cheese, remember that some of it will be used for the topping as well. And I'll address that in the ingredient amounts in the video description below. The Dijon mustard, I like a little extra Dijon mustard because I think it adds a real nice depth of flavor. So I like a little more, but you know, you can experiment. Then we're adding the salt. And we're going to season with pepper. And from here, it's just making sure that everything is synergizing, all the ingredients are getting along nicely. Really trying to avoid that word incorporate. I feel like I've used it in pretty much every episode. But there's only so many ways to say things are mixing together. So here you can see the sauce sort of coming into its own. The cheese is melting. And this is what I think distinguishes this mac and cheese from that side of mac and cheese you got with a bucket of chicken, is really the time and effort put into the roux and the sauce. That's where all the love is at the end of the day, is the sauce. It's really, really good. And when I say love, I mean butter. So remember that pasta water we had boiling for the pasta? Throw your pasta in and then cook for the specified time on the package, whatever your allotted time is on whatever dried package of macaroni you got. Okay, so your macaroni is cooking. We're just in case, we're going to reserve some pasta water. You might need to add some to the sauce if it's a little too dry, I guess. Not really dry, but it's just not maybe mixing all the way. You might not even need it, but you never know. And so here's the macaroni, just drained it. I just want to make sure I get all of that out of the pot. And yeah, let's fast forward through this. So next step is you're going to want to butter a baking dish so the mac and cheese doesn't stick to the dish. Yeah, make sure you're buttering along the sides as well. Yeah, let's fast forward, obviously. And yeah, you know, I mean, pretty self-explanatory, just buttering a dish. Now we're going to work on the topping. So we're going to melt some butter for the topping. I'm doing this in the microwave, but you can do it over the stove too. Then the panko breadcrumbs. We're going to mix all this together. The rest of the cheddar cheese that we shredded from earlier, I guess grated technically, but it's not super fine. I'm doing sort of thin. Actually, that is more shredded cheddar cheese, yeah. And then the butter we just melted goes in. Mix all that together. That's going to be our topping. And this is another thing that distinguishes it from other kinds of mac and cheese, is the bread topping. And it just gives a nice crunch and some extra flavor and some extra love, as I said from earlier. And notice how with love, butter is always involved. Because, I mean, let's face facts, butter is amazing. All right, so here's our pasta, and we're going to mix in the sauce with the pasta. And we're doing this before we add it to the to the baking dish because we want the pasta to really coat each individual piece of macaroni. Yeah, we're just going to fast forward through some of this. I'm just getting all the sauce out of the pan because it's so good. Don't want to waste any of it. And here we are mixing up the pasta with the sauce. And yeah, once again, just making sure that the sauce is really attached to every piece of the macaroni. And this is where you could add the water if you felt you needed to. If some of the pasta was maybe not combining with the sauce. So now we're going to add it to that buttered baking dish. And yeah, just make sure it all gets out. Try to get it as even as possible across the pan. So here I am fast forwarding through some of this stuff. So there's our pasta. Like I said, just kind of smoothing it out, making sure that you have an even. You don't want like way more on one side of your baking dish. And now we're going to add the topping on top of the mac and cheese. This is the assembly, guys. I mean, this is the best part when everything's done. And from here, we're just going to have to put it in the oven. So yeah, here I am adding the panko bread topping. So yeah, I did the topping, of course. Let's make sure you get all of it in there. And once again, you're kind of trying to go for an even spread as best you can. I know it's a little tricky sometimes, but you just got to do your best. So here's our oven already preheated. Putting the macaroni dish in. And this is going to cook for around 25 to 35 minutes. Alright, let's see this come out of the oven. You're going to want the cheese to be bubbling a little bit. And oh yeah, there it is, guys. Look at that. Looks fantastic. So yeah, you can see the cheese bubble a little bit. And there's that nice bread topping on top. Got a little brown. Quick tip, always want to maybe check a little early on your oven just to make sure you're not burning anything. Because you never know. People's oven temperatures vary, sorry. And here's the finished product, guys. Mac and cheese done right. That's this episode's dish. Be on the lookout for more episodes. Like and subscribe if you want. I hope these dishes find you well at any time.